Hey guys, this is David from the Wrestling Guy Store, and I want to give a shout out to the Born Leadaz Podcast. Oh, and by the way, Daniel Bryan is the best wrestler in the world.
I thought you were going to say Shawn Michaels.
Welcome everybody to the Born Leadaz Podcast. Your boy Lavonte Smith.
It's your girl Jamie B.
We got a special guest today.
I'm David from the Wrestling Guy Store.
Who is David?
Just a wrestling name. Nah, I'm a big wrestling fan and baseball fan, and now older with too many kids and can't even tell them apart anymore.
Where did you grow up at? Like, what city?
I grew up around here. I grew up in Southgate. So right here, we're in Huntington Park, but I grew up in Southgate, which is the neighboring city. Mm-hmm. Lived there all my life, and yeah, it's the first time I actually spent some time in Huntington Park, thanks to the store.
Okay. When did you first start watching wrestling?
I started about when I was like 8 years old. We used to watch the Saturday morning cartoons like Bugs Bunny and all that. And in the morning you would watch like the Smurfs or something, and then Chipmunks. And then I knew it was like 11 o'clock when Bugs Bunny would come on because or Looney Tunes. That was the last cartoon, and then they'd go into like NBA or whatever. So I watched the whole Looney Tunes, and then it finished, and me and my cousin were sitting at home like, what do we watch now? And then he's like, you want to watch something that looks like boxing? And I'm like, okay. And he flipped it on to like channel 11, and sure enough, it was WWF Superstars. Okay. And I saw Hillbilly Jim with Uncle Elmer, and I think they were doing the little dance that they do. And
I'm telling your age now.
Yeah, I know. And next thing you know, I was hooked. The next day I woke up on Sunday and I was like, oh, I gotta find this. And I kept going through the TV, but I kept getting all the religious shows.
On Sunday, of course.
Yeah, I got all the pastors and all that. I'm like, God forgive me, but where's my wrestling? And sure enough, I came on, it was Wrestling Challenge, and I was like, oh, even better. And so then I got hooked. So about 8 years old, I was hooked. That was it.
How was it growing up in Huntington Park?
It was pretty calm. It's always been pretty calm. Well, since I was in Southgate, Huntington Park, it was a little rivalry between the two cities. But it was pretty calm. Southgate was, it was just like you would see like on the Wonder Years, like the TV show and stuff. Like, we would play outside. I had a big front yard, so I would wrestle with my brother out there and not have to worry about anything. But then and then Huntington Park was always cool because that was like our little outdoor mall because we had all the big name stores were on like one boulevard. And so and it's still here at Pacific Boulevard, so you would go down there and that's where you would do all your back to school shopping and all your, go to Toyville, which was, I'm showing my age again. Yeah, which was like my Toys R Us. So I would buy all my wrestlers there and all my stuff there. So,
what made you decide to open up a wrestling store?
Well, since I'm a big wrestling fan, I said, I want to try it and see how it goes. I used to have a cell phone business. Okay. And man, I just keep aging myself.
Yeah, keep going.
I'm already there. So when I started the cell phone business, I worked in selling them at the malls first. And then I said, I could do this. So I looked into it and I wanted to open my own store, so I opened a cell phone store. And at that time, it was either Verizon, AT&T Wireless, Singular Wireless, or T-Mobile. And then if you went and Sprint, I think, and Nextel were the big. Remember Nextel?
Yeah, sure.
You said Singular too. I mean, you already told your age.
Yeah, Singular. Yeah,
you told your age.
So at that time you needed good credit to get the phone. Yeah. And if you didn't have good credit, they wouldn't give you nothing. So I started making some money, but the money was behind the contracts. So in Southgate and Huntington Park, unfortunately, you don't have the people with the greatest credit. And so we weren't able to get a lot of contracts. So I said, I have to add something to make money. Right. So I said, well, I'm a wrestling fan. I love Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like, well, let me see if I can get these shirts wholesale. And at that time, John Cena was barely coming up. Okay. Rey Mysterio was barely coming up. So I Googled, not Googled, but I went online. I'm like, let me see what I can find. And finally I found a WWE t-shirt wholesaler. So I added those shirts to my store. finally, after a couple months, I gave up on the store. We were losing money. And I had whatever shirts I had left over. I went to the swap meet. And I said, well, let me try to sell them here at the swap meet, which is Santa Fe Springs.
Okay.
I sold out of the t-shirts I had, which were licensed shirts, like in the first 2 hours of the swap meet.
Whoa.
Yeah.
How much?
We were selling for like $10. Like the little, like kind of like the ones we have here in front with just a wrestler in the front and it said their name. And I was like, okay, this is cool. But the bad part was, I parked my car in the spot inside the swap meet, so you couldn't leave. So I was there from like 6 o'clock till 11 o'clock at night, just sitting there.
You already sold 10 hours ago.
Yeah. So, but at least I got that's when I first discovered that one song, "Lonely" by Akon on Kiss FM. So I was listening to that for a couple hours, and I'd be like, "Oh, there it comes on again." And then so when we did that, I said, "Well, you know what? RVD had a wrestling store."
Yeah.
And
Palisades.
yeah, and.
Yep.
So I was like, I wonder if I can kind of recreate that, but his was wrestling and comics. So I said, I wonder if I could do that. And then I always said, like, why doesn't WWE have a Disney store? You know, like, why don't they have their own brick and mortar? So I started that way, and I said, okay, let's try it. So at the swap meet, I started bringing in little things, and then little by little, we were just the one spot for wrestling. And then when this opportunity came in to move in here, I said, all right, let's try it. So this is actually step 2 of my 4-step plan. So
you kind of got the monopoly, because I don't know no other place that has like a wrestling store. Around here, you could drive to.
Yeah, well, you know, I think that some people want to do it and they have the intentions of trying to do it, but I think they've always asked me, like, is it easy? And I always tell everybody it's not, because it's such a niche market that it's so difficult to, you know, to make it work. You know, and I think we've been lucky.
How did you come up with the name for your store?
So the same time when we were doing the swap meet, and once the swap meet kind of picked up, I went through like 10 name changes, let me tell you.
Yeah, give me 2.
We went through like Wrestling Extreme, which did not do well.
You just took off the ECW?
Yeah. And then we tried Wrestling Figures, but then we found out that was copyrighted by Ringside. So this might not be good.
Yeah, you don't want to get sued.
Yeah, so I think we went through we said Wrestling Smackdown. We went through like all these names, and we're like, all right, what do we name it? So we said, you know what, forget it. And so we went to this fair, this carnival, street fair, and the guy goes, when we signed up for the spot, he's like, well, what's your business name? And I'm like, oh, we don't have one. He's like, well, what do you sell? And I go, oh, WWE action figures, t-shirts, and yada yada. And he's like, okay. So the day of the fair comes, the street fair comes, he goes, oh, hey, Dave. I'm like, hey. He's like, oh, your booth is set up already. Just go make a right over here. He's like, your name should be on a piece of paper on your spot. So I'm like, all right, cool. So we're driving, and I see a little paper that says, the wrestling guy. So I'm like, okay. So I'm sitting there with my wife, and I'm like, man, that'd be a pretty cool name. But we thought, it's too generic.
Yeah.
But then, coincidentally enough, that next weekend we were at the swap meet, and I heard this guy walking by. He didn't know it was me, and he's like, oh, let's go see what the wrestling guy has. So I was like, that's a sign.
That's a sign.
That's a sign. So
I like it.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not too much. It's just the wrestling guy.
It's straight to the point.
It's straight to the point.
Yeah.
The wrestling guy got all the stuff.
That's it. Right there. So I said, it works. I wanted to be like the WWE guy, but then I said, because I know we carry all WWE, and I go, I don't want to get sued.
Right.
Yeah, you don't want that on your hands.
Yeah.
They got good lawyers.
Yeah, Ron Simmons told me that one. Ron, see that? If you can't see, but the scratch logo, that was originally where the W is on the wrestling guy.
Oh.
So what happened is we had Ron Simmons here, and he pulls me aside and he goes, brother, if you don't want to get sued, change that W. And I go, why? He goes, because WWE will be on your, can I say that?
Oh, yeah.
He'll be like, WWE will be on your ass. And he goes, and you don't want them on your ass. Yeah. So he goes, trust me. He goes, I like you. He goes, avoid any problems with the E. And you know, Ron Simmons and that. You know, you already know him for the damn.
Yeah.
So he's just like, he's telling me this in like the most passionate way he
Yeah.
can.
With a deep ass voice.
Yeah, I was just waiting for him to go, damn. But then so I called my buddy, I'm like, hey, can you change that W?
Like right away.
Yeah, so he did. Like 2 days later, he put the other W. That's why the reds are a little different.
Yeah, I was looking at that.
Yeah, it's a little faded. It's alright.
Just a little bit.
What year did you open your store?
So we opened here in 2013, but I've been doing this since 2005.
Oh.
So the swap meet was we started there February 2005, and then we opened here in February of 2013.
Mm.
And I remember because my son, who's in the back,
Uh-huh.
was only going to be a year old when we opened.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that was his favorite song actually to go sleep. Akon's Lonely.
He heard it
Because he
so
was in
many
the car for 10 hours.
Well, that's when you used to have what is LimeWire and Napster, and you go on there and you start Googling. Sorry, I'm gonna get arrested for this. I'm aging myself. I'm self-criminalizing. Jeez, I'm on a roll.
Has this pandemic slowed you down?
You know, it's funny. It actually was reversed. It actually helped us. A lot more kids were staying home, and I think they were looking for ways to distract themselves. And parents were looking for ways to distract them. So our sales actually, well, first I want to say we have great customers and very, I don't want to say faithful. What's the word I'm looking for?
Loyal.
I've been lucky that they've made, they came through when we were struggling. So, and then when the pandemic hit and we thought we were struggling, people started coming in and purchasing. But then we noticed, we thought, okay, maybe that's just I think we got to reopen a year ago around this time.
Uh-huh.
And then we realized maybe like January, like, wow, we're really picking up in sales.
That's dope.
And yeah, we found out, Mattel told us too, like their sales were like 30-40% higher than what they expected.
Oh, wow.
And it's because kids were staying home, so kids were playing with the figures, getting shirts.
Mhm.
That's why we invested more in like the Legends shirts during the pandemic, because we noticed, nobody wanted to wear like a Seth Rollins shirt when you can't go to an event.
Yeah.
Right.
So we started saying, well, let's get the Stone Cold Steve Austin, let's get some NWOs. Let's get more Stone Colds, NWOs, Eddie Guerrero. Let's just get old school, because fans want to wear the old school stuff.
Yeah.
So, and it's actually helped. Now we're kind of seeing, with everything opening up though, now we're kind of seeing sales kind of go back to where they used to be.
Oh.
So we're like, we had a little
Yeah,
fun
you had a
run.
little run.
Yeah.
Have you ever said, man, fuck this store, I'm about to close it and just do something different?
Every day? No. Every time your brother walks in the door. No, I'm just kidding. As soon as he walked in, I come out. I'm done. No, a couple times we have. A couple years ago, we took it was pretty bad. Like our third year here, it was pretty bad. But again, the customers came through, and then everything like kind of snowballed in a positive way.
Okay.
We started having some wrestlers like, hey, I'm going to be in town, want me to do a signing for you, and I'm going to help you out. So I always thank Melina, former WWE superstar, and I always thank Melissa Santos, who used to be the ring announcer for Lucha Underground, and of course China. We actually got lucky. That's when Rest in Peace China. They actually reached out to us from the show Botched on E, and they were looking for a location. At the same time, we're like, oh, should we stay open or not? And they were looking for a location to film her. I don't know if you ever seen the show Botched, but it's like plastic surgery gone wrong, and then these doctors repair it.
Oh yeah. I seen it, yeah.
And they always put them like in a scenario where they get to, like if it's the boyfriend, then they send them on a nice date and show what they look like or whatever. So hers was here at the store, was her doing an appearance after her surgery was done, and unfortunately she passed away before they ever aired it, so they never got to air it. But it helped with sales, because once China was here, more people got to know the store. And then a couple weeks ago, because I wanted to be at Universal Studios.
How do you meet these wrestlers? Like, because I've seen there's wrestlers do come to your store. Like they follow you, or you go in their DMs, and are you just a known wrestling guy?
Sometimes I DM them, and I have to sometimes let them know I know somebody that they know.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes you have to go through their agents.
Okay.
But a lot of them, honestly, I've met because of other wrestlers. They'll tell me like, "Hey, I'm gonna put you in contact with so and so and so and so," and then it just grows from there. So John Morrison, actually, I'm very thankful for, and Melina, because they both put me in contact with so many people.
That's
and
good.
and Victoria is the most amazing because she's put me in contact with way more people than I ever thought it was imaginable. So that's helped a lot. Well, so I would say more word of mouth has helped as far as meeting the wrestlers more than anything else.
Okay.
Is it difficult, without mentioning any names, is it difficult with certain wrestlers to get them here?
Yeah, there's some that are a little more, not because of them, it's mostly the agents are a little
Behind
tougher.
it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind mentioning this one, but we always wanted Ashley Massaro
Okay.
to do an appearance here. I had a big crush on her when she was in the Diva Search. I liked the punk rocker girl look, and I was like, wow, to me it was like, wow, she's gorgeous. And as a fan, you know, you want to meet somebody that you really like, and I really liked her, and I was like, okay, I wanted to bring her into the store. It would be special to me. Unfortunately, her agent was more worried about booking the Playboy Playmate DJ or whatever it was than he was about booking her. And even though I explained to him, like, you know, this is a family-oriented store. I can't have the Playboy.
Just going in and out my way.
DJ, you know, because in my mind, I'm thinking like, oh my God, they're gonna be in bikinis.
Right.
You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
You can't control it.
Yeah, I'm imagining I'm Hugh Hefner or something. You know, sitting there. And I'm like, no, this is not gonna happen. And so it never happened. And then unfortunately, you know, so when they asked me like, who's somebody that passed away that you regret not having, she's probably she's on my list of superstars. So that's one that I always say, like, you know, that was probably the difficult one that I really wish would have worked out, because I think she would have done amazing here.
Now, you had an incident here with Andrade a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
You tell people what happened?
I want to know.
So so every meet and greet since the pandemic has hit, we've avoided lines and we avoided just big crowds.
Okay.
We limited the VIPs. We knew Andrade. We're in Huntington Park. Huntington Park is a very Latino populated area.
Yes.
And mostly Latino, and it's a lot of Mexicans.
Mm-hmm.
And Andrade is a big name in the Mexican community.
Yeah.
And so we said, we know there's going to be a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, okay, he's hot, he's off the, you know, he just got released,
Mm-hmm.
he's dating Charlotte. I mean, everything was working for him.
behind
Yeah,
him.
yeah. And so I said, when we announced him, we're like, all right, let's go. So we said, we're only going to do a certain amount of VIPs. But his VIPs that we have, I think we were only going to do like 40 or 50 VIPs. They sold out in 2 days. So I'm like, all right. So I told the guy.
Is that your fastest VIP?
Yeah. That was like, wow, this is incredible. So I told the guy that was helping bring him in, like, hey, we just sold out. And he's like, well, sell more. And I'm like, no, I don't think that's a good idea. But I went against my better judgment, and we sold up to 90.
Ooh.
So then in my head, I'm like, man, we're going to have this long line of 90 VIPs on one side, and we're going to have like 200 people on the other side. So then we said, so then the appearance came, and we're like, oh, let's not do a line.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to put them in a line. I had bought like this texting app to text people and let them know, like, hey, we're going to text you when it's your time. Well,
okay.
That didn't help because
I thought that did.
no, Andrade wanted a line. So I went against my better judgment, and I said, at first I was like, no, we shouldn't have a line. But I get it. He wanted a line so when he came in, it would look like the biggest meet and greet in history. So we did the line. Unfortunately, the line went all the way into the sidewalk, all the way. And even though we had given people time slots, so we would say, like, if you came in, we would say, okay, you're from 1 to 1:15. Don't come until 12:40 or 12:45 to check in. You're from 1:30 to 2 o'clock, you know, whatever. People still stuck around and hung out, so parking was a headache.
Oh.
So now we have the line, we have 90 VIPs, we have cars being blocked,
Oh my
we
God.
have people looking for parking and blocking people's parking. So next thing you know,
And this is not a big parking lot.
no, it's only like 12 cars.
The sheriff's came, huh?
Yeah, I'm sitting in here, just where I'm at right now, taking pictures of the VIPs. Like, oh, and I don't know if you ever watched Married with Children, but I'm a big Married with Children fan. And there's an episode where Al Bundy is having so much good luck that he even says, if I admit I'm having good luck, the bad luck is just bound to happen. That day I came in, I'm like, wow. I go, and I started seeing the line, everything was calm. It was like the calm before the storm. I said, oh, we did it. I go,
So you said that.
Yeah. As soon as I said that, I took the first picture, my phone rings. It's a friend of mine who's an officer for the city. He goes, hey, bro, everything okay? I'm like, yeah, everything's fine. He goes, you have a signing, huh? And I go, yeah. He goes, can you just step outside and talk to my sergeant?
Oh.
Somebody called on you. And I'm like,
of course, they blocking driveways and doing all that, yeah.
So I go outside. Luckily, it was his partner. And so he's talking to me. He's been here before. He's like, hey, you know, everything looks fine. Everything looks like it's under control. He goes, unfortunately, it's out of our hands now, and it's up the chain of command, and we need to do something about it. He's like, we don't want to mess with you. He goes, because again, everything looks fine. The sergeant came. She was really amazing as well. I do give props to the Huntington Park Police Department.
Okay.
They were never mean. They weren't rude about it. They were really cool about it. They let us try to do whatever we could from getting it canceled. Unfortunately, the call was too high up. Who made the call? We all have our suspicions. Somebody knew how to make the call because Huntington Park is this side of the street. Vernon is the other side of the street.
Yeah.
Somebody knew to call Huntington Park and Vernon.
Oh, yeah.
So I go, there's somebody that knew how this system works.
Yeah,
they because I go, if it would have been me, and I've been here for, 8 years or whatever, 9 years, I only call HP, and I'll be like, hey, there's a problem. All right, but this person, whoever called the call,
they knew both.
They knew to call Huntington Park and Vernon. But luckily, they gave us more time. Andrade, they let us get like 40, 45 minutes more to finish it up, and then Andrade is moving it. And we had some people go crazy because we told them once 2:30 hit, we're like, oh, we gotta stop. Because my friend called me again, he's like, bro, just give me a heads up. It's 2:30, and they're gonna head out there again, so you can wrap it up. And I'm like, yeah. And so I started telling people like, hey, we're gonna have to give you a refund. That
was my next question. You had to give your money back.
People started going off, and I'm like, there's nothing we can do. Like, I go, they're gonna give you a citation. They're gonna give me a citation. Like,
your citation might be more than theirs.
Exactly. And my wife was even here, and she's telling them, like, this is how we make our living. So you guys, please understand, this is not. But luckily, Andrade stayed by the door, and he signed for everybody.
That's dope. That's dope.
He signed
I like
for everybody.
That.
Yeah. And we tell everybody, like, let it clear out. Maybe once it's clear, come back in 20, 30 minutes, and we can get you guys in. But some people didn't understand, and some people didn't want to risk it. So we did try to accommodate every situation we could. But he did. He stayed by the door. He took pictures with people. He signed. Everybody thinks that his signature was rushed. Let me tell you, for those watching, that's just his signature. He has a horrible signature.
Do you think if you would have kept it at the 50, it would have been cool?
Yeah. Okay. And it didn't help that he showed up 20 minutes late.
So when these wrestlers come to your store, do your sales prices go up? Like, do people buy more?
Yeah, they tend to buy more when we have the events. It helps when, like, with somebody like Andrade, because we still have his merch available.
Okay.
Sometimes when it's the legends, it's a little harder because you don't really have as much of their stuff. The reason we don't get the carry, or we don't have a lot of the older figures, is because we sell everything at retail, pretty close to retail. So if we were like more collectibles, where we would sell people, like if Kevin Nash has a new figure, and we're like, oh, we're gonna sell this one for $30. I think we would have more later. Yeah. But since we're selling them at Walmart and Target's price, they're like, oh, we'll buy it now. We can get it for $19.99 instead. So it is harder when we have the legends, but sales do go up. We sell a lot more shirts when we have meet and greets, which is good. And we sell a lot more of the harder the sell stuff sells more when we have meet and greets.
Okay. Who's your top 5 wrestlers of all time, and why?
Ooh.
God.
Shawn Michaels down the list.
Oh my God. Let's just skip the question then.
I'm sorry.
Yes, I really want to hear your 5 now.
You're gonna hate me. Well, my number 1 is Stone Cold Steve Austin. I love Austin. I think he changed the game so much that it made me. I think I was in that little phase where I kind of was like, all right, I'm kind of growing out of it. But when he came in, that was it. He had WWE. Yeah, he kept me hooked.
Yeah.
Number 2 is of course Daniel Bryan. I think Daniel Bryan got me because of the whole underdog story, and I think everybody feels like an underdog.
Okay.
And as an athlete, because I play baseball, I always felt that underdog. Cause I was real. If you see my son, the one that's here, my 16-year-old, he's really, really bony, and that's how I looked in high school. So I always felt like that. I know, I know. That's what happens when you get married. But I think that's why Daniel Bryan's story connected with me a lot. And then I like my number 3 probably be. That's a tough one. Number 3 will probably now be Macho Man, but out of sentimental. We used to do a podcast a long time ago, and it was me and my best friend Alfred, and I was Daniel Bryan, he was Macho Man, and so we kept debating, and it was just a gimmick, and so he unfortunately passed away in January of 2020, so I keep Macho, closer to me. So Macho would be number 3. Mr. Perfect would be number 4.
That's perfect. That's number 5 for me. Bro.
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 4. Yeah, number 4, just because. This is funny. I used to like Brutus the Barber Beef.
Oh my God.
Yeah. He was my favorite. I even dressed up as him for Halloween.
Oh my God.
First time and last time I ever wore fishnet stockings.
You was a jock.
I really was.
Was you cutting people hair too?
I tried. My brother didn't let me. My brother was my guy I used to mess with all the time, but he didn't let me. I wore my fishnet, my ties, I had everything done. But he was my favorite as a kid, because I used to like him with the little scissors or whatever. But then I got to the certain age when they started telling me wrestling was fake, and I just couldn't believe it. It was in my heart. My heart was like, no, not
wrestling.
use
the F word.
Yeah, I know.
That's my question. How do you feel when people use the F word? Because he get mad when I tell him all the time.
I do too. Yeah. I get mad. I only say it because that's how they used to tell me. Oh, wrestling's fake. Wrestling's fake. Wrestling's fake. But that's why I like Mr. Perfect, because he was my first favorite athletic wrestler. Oh, I have to finish it on. Number 5 was Bret Hart's number 5. Sorry. I was a Bret Hart guy. My brother was Shawn.
I like Bret Hart, but because him and Shawn, I don't like Bret Hart. He's good, but I can't like Bret Hart. Like.
But Charlotte's making her way in my list.
Charlotte?
And Oscar, so there you go.
What about Bianca?
I like Bianca, but I need a little more time.
Charlotte is too overrated, but whatever.
I like Sasha.
So who's your top 5? Who's your top 5 females then? That's better. Because I already knew your male.
You talking about looking or skills?
No, skill.
Because Stacy's my number 1.
Oh yeah, Stacy. Yeah.
Probably go. He's good. So I better answer this, and then I'll answer the F.
Yeah.
I might die after this.
Okay.
Well, you better save me.
I got you.
My number 1 would be Charlotte.
Overrated. Overrated, but go ahead.
My number 2 would be Asuka.
What?
Yeah, I like.
No, I said of all time, not current.
Oh no, I know, but Asuka's in my top 5. I'm sorry. Number 3 would be Alundra Blaze.
Okay.
All right. Number 4 will probably be. I think number 4 would be Sherry, Sensational Sherry.
Okay.
Number 5 is. That's a tough one. I don't really have a.
He waiting for you to say Bianca.
I know he's not gonna say Bianca, but I'm waiting for Nikki Bella.
I was never a Nikki Bella fan.
Oh my God.
I was a Brie Bella guy.
Oh yeah, it's the same. Yeah. Nikki's better.
Number 5 would be Trish Stratus.
Okay.
Trish Stratus.
I would put Lita there before Trish.
I like Lita. She'd probably be my number 6. Yeah. But now, but it's hard because Victoria's in there too.
Yeah, but Lita was better on the mic and she was a better wrestler.
That's true.
Trish just had more popularity.
But Victoria out of the 3, honestly,
Victoria,
was probably the better overall.
Yeah, Victoria.
So I would say Victoria's my number 5.
Okay.
But Victoria's my number 5. But, the F word, sorry.
Yeah. What? How do you feel about that?
Am I okay?
Yeah, you good.
I talk shit to my brother all the time, but when I say the F word, he gets so disrespectful.
Yeah.
He gets disrespectful.
Yeah.
Why do people get mad when it comes to wrestling and you use the F word?
I think because, like, for me, first when I was a kid, because it's like telling somebody Santa Claus is over. And I go, I would rather, see, like, my kids, when they ask me, and they would, because everybody uses that F word, like, oh, is it fake? Is it fake? And even kids in the store come in and, is wrestling fake?
What do you tell them? That's a good one.
I tell them, no. I go, it's not fake. I go, it's scripted. Yeah. I go, the moves, and then I explain it to them. The moves are real. And that's how I explain it to my kids. The moves are real. One move goes wrong, that guy is done. So I go, you can't say fake. And I think that's why I think wrestlers take it more personal. Some wrestlers are like, all right, we get it. For me, I think because I did take a bump in the Lucha Underground ring once, I just dropped because I was there visiting and Chavo Jr. told me, go ahead, take a bump. And I was like, oh, tough enough. I remember this. Yeah. Let me just lay flat. Yeah. That thing hurt.
Yeah, it's not like it's a mattress.
Yeah, it wasn't. And I told him after that, I said, I will never, ever let anybody use the F word around me again.
I'm like, man, look at a Mick Foley match or something. Like, come on, you got to do off a cage or something. Like,
yeah.
How can you call it fake?
Yeah, and that's why I tell them, like, and I think that's what it is. And I think what bothers me is when I've had all types of people come in, and there's some big brothers or older cousins that are just mean, and they'll tell their little cousin or little brother, like, you still watch that fake shit?
That's me. To my little brother. You still watch that shit? That shit fake. Like, what? Why?
But you know what my reply is? When Vin Diesel is really driving a car 120 miles per hour on the freeway and jumping all those cliffs, you come back and you can call my shit fake.
And I stopped watching it because of...
Yeah, but you know what I mean? That's what I tell people, like, but then I tell people that don't like wrestling, and they're like, oh, I can't watch it. It's just, and I go, look, you cannot watch wrestling like baseball, basketball, football. I go, you have to watch it like we watch a horror film or a soap opera. And I go, and that's, and
I looked at it like that.
It's storytelling.
Yeah.
And then once you watch it, then you kind of like, I mean, they could get really cheesy, of course.
Yeah, like the zombie match.
Yeah.
That's another thing.
So sometimes you're like, I'm sure that day you were looking at her like, you go ahead. The zombies are on TV. You can talk all the shit you want.
He does anything and everything for me, right?
Yeah.
But I know Sundays don't bother him. I think Mondays too. But when I call him, he's like, "What? I'm watching what?" I'm like, "That shit fake." Like that's how we get into it. That's how we get into it. I'm like, "That shit fake." Like anyway, I need help. All right, I'm gonna call you in 30 minutes. 2 hours past, 3 hours past.
But see, maybe she only says because she's like, "Man, I can't believe you're gonna hang up on me for that."
No, because she'd be like, "Who watches that?" And then I showed her a picture of like WrestleMania 33 or something when it was like packed, and she's like, "Is that many people?"
And that's what I'm not a wrestling fan, but that made me. I was intrigued. Like, and I used to work at the airport, and people would come with belts with wrestlers signed. It was a lot. I was like, this shit is like people really take this shit serious.
Oh yeah, they. You know, I kind of get. I mean, I get everybody's point of view, so I kind of do get bothered when they call it fake, but then I get it, and I go, you know. It also depends on the match, and I think if you watch something that might intrigue you, you know, like if you watch, I always tell everybody, like, they always, the big question on Twitter is always like, if you were going to introduce somebody to wrestling, which match would you show them?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I would say WrestleMania 17, The Rock versus Austin, and because I think the promo with Limp Bizkit and all that leading up to it, and just the match and the storytelling in the match would be like, wow. Yeah. Or even Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, the WrestleMania.
Oh, okay,
the first one.
Yeah, the first, okay.
Just if you watch it for the.
I think I do Undertaker. That's the only wrestling person I know.
Watch that one against Shawn when they're setting up for WrestleMania. The greatest entrance ever. Shawn Michaels is a born again Christian. Undertaker's like supposedly this dark side devil, zombie. Shawn Michaels enters from the top, like if he's coming in from heaven. Undertaker comes in from hell.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if you kind of watch it and you kind of get like the, the what is it, the psychology behind it, then you're like, okay,
That's good. Yeah,
I get it. But then Fast forward to WrestleMania Backlash, and you get these zombies.
And it's just like they did it for a check.
Yeah, and then you're probably gonna be like, yeah, this is why I don't watch this shit.
Yeah.
That's what me and him will probably be like, oh, you want to go to 7-Eleven? Go buy some pizza. We'll be back. You want to go by yourself? Give me like 2. Go ahead. We'll be back in 20 minutes.
What was your favorite wrestler growing up, like in your era?
Brutus.
Brutus? Oh, come on.
As a kid,
Are you serious?
Yeah. Well, it depends. Okay. Brutus was my favorite.
I'm not gonna let you leave. I'm not gonna let you say Brutus. I'm gonna give you your second one in. We got people watching
the editor.
Yeah. No, I'm not gonna edit. I'm gonna have you look crazy, but I want you to switch it at least.
So Brutus was my first as a kid, like learning, because again, it was the era of Hogan, Andrade, the larger than life comic book characters.
Okay.
Athleticism wise, I went to when I started again when they told me, oh, wrestling's fake.
Yeah.
And I started realizing the athleticism, it was Mr. Perfect.
Okay.
I even did the little spinning of the gum.
And trying to say, yeah, me too.
I did that. Yeah. After him, it was kind of like Bret Hart, but that's because it was a new generation. And my brother again was a Shawn Michaels.
Okay.
He was Shawn Michaels, and of course I can't like the same thing as my brother, so I was like, oh, I like Bret.
So your brother was a smarter. Okay, I got you.
He still loves Shawn.
Matter of fact, where your brother?
So is your brother still a wrestling fan?
He watches it every now and then, not as much as I.
Oh, okay.
And that's what surprises so many people that they're like, they go, you actually opened a store? Because I had so many friends that were like, oh, he's going to grow out of it. He's going to grow out of it. And I never grew out of it. But now and then Austin and then Daniel Bryan. So probably growing up, if I had to go in that middle, it would probably be Kurt Hennig. But then teenage years was Austin / teenage.
So what was your favorite era? Was it the 80s Hogan? Was it the Attitude Era? Was it the Ruthless? Or was it right? I know it's not right now, but I'm gonna throw that in there. You've been asking some crazy ass answers. You might say this current.
You're not gonna let me live these down, are you? He's never gonna invite me back. You call me anytime.
Yeah, I got you.
You talk about anything. I would say it's tough, but I would say the Attitude Era was good because I liked Austin, everything Austin was doing. So I always thought, entertainment wise, the Attitude Era is my favorite. Wrestling wise, the Ruthless Aggression is the best.
Everybody says that.
I think you had, especially SmackDown, because you had Eddie, Benoit, Cena was coming up, Undertaker, Booker T. Mm-hmm. So I think SmackDown, wrestling-wise, was just a better show, but the Ruthless Aggression, I think, was like the best era if I had to go wrestling skills. Like wrestling-wise.
I love Attitude Era.
I love Attitude Era.
You had Austin, you had DX. DX was great. Yeah.
But you look back at it, and then there's some things I'm like, God, this was cheesy. Like
I can still go back. I can still go on the network and watch the Attitude. It's hard for me to watch the Ruthless.
Really?
You know, it's good wrestling, but the storytelling and the promos is horrible.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. That's why I always tell everybody, if you go based off the actual athleticism, then I go Ruthless. If you go based off the stories and the entertainment value, then I go the Attitude Era was probably the best. Like,
what's your favorite storyline?
Austin and The Rock is probably my favorite.
Okay.
Austin Rock, Austin McMahon was my two favorites.
What about the Kane and Undertaker? When they became brothers, like that whole Paul Bear being a death. That was my favorite storyline. And it took like a whole year.
I like Undertaker. I'm gonna just say that because it might be this one wrestler that loves the Undertaker and she comes here and she's a big Undertaker fan. That's all. Piss her off. But the Undertaker Kane storyline was cool for a while, and then I got kind of bored of it after a while.
Really? They was doing different things every month. They had you keep going.
Back. I think I kind of liked them. It just depends. I think the Attitude Era Undertaker Kane storyline was cool. I hated the Ruthless Aggression one.
Was that when
they changed
he was
the Undertaker to the biker?
Then the Limp Bizkit music.
Yeah, I just hate it. I never liked the Undertaker as the biker, and I think they kind of ruined Undertaker.
The gimmick,
yeah. Kind of like, as a kid, I was like,
yeah.
It's like seeing Santa Claus That's like seeing your dad dress up as Santa Claus, you know?
Right.
Like, oh.
Yeah, when I was a
He's not
kid,
a dead man for
and
real.
he was doing them promos with like Paul Bear and it's like the casket. I used to run. I couldn't watch. I was scared. Like
and that's the only part I remember when I was a kid. That's why I started liking the Undertaker.
I
like,
would not.
That's cool. What is that?
See, what different? She probably liked it too because you would run. Let's make him my bro. Oh, let me change the channel.
How long you been married?
Oh, too long.
So I'm pretty sure now your wife is a wrestling fan.
She started off as she never watched wrestling consistently when she was a kid. How long have we been married? That's a good question, honestly. 16 years, 17 years. There you go. Well, we've been together 27 years.
Oh wow, okay.
25 years, something like that.
Forever.
Yeah.
Okay.
I forget.
No wonder you lost count.
Yeah. 27, basically. Yeah.
When it comes to the anniversary, it clicks. So she wasn't a wrestling fan. She would watch it as a kid. Like she knew like Hogan and Bret Hart. But then when we got together, it was the weekend of Survivor Series, and it was the Bret Hart screw job.
Oh.
And she fell in love with Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh, okay.
And she liked the whole screw job.
Uh-huh.
So she became a wrestling fan there. And then, just like typical non-casual wrestling fan, once Stone Cold left and Undertaker was on his way out, and like the Attitude Era was changing, she kind of fell out of it.
Yeah, she couldn't get in the
Yeah.
wrestlers and catch on.
She knows who everybody is.
Right.
Like, I mean, if you come in here and she's here one day, she could tell you who, you know, she could, if you go, not the older guys, but if you come in and you're like, hey, I need Drew McIntyre, she knows Drew McIntyre. She'll be like, hey, I know who that is. Okay. And she's met a lot of them, and so she's pretty good on that. But yeah, she's a big Law and Order SVU. That's why if you ever see me disappear, I'm not seeing you disappear. If you ever find out I disappeared, you can blame her because she watches.
I knew that you was a serious wrestling fan, just like him, because we've been trying to get you. Our schedules didn't match.
Yeah.
Finally, we're here. I was like, just ask him on Monday, and he was like, I'm telling you right now, he's gonna say no. And I was like, no, he's not. Like, come on. Like, he owns a store. He gonna close the store down. I'm like, no. And lo and behold, you said no.
It's raw.
It's raw. And that's why I was like, oh my God, I thought my brother was like the only wrestling fan in the world. Like,
No.
it's a lot of
Y'all can do the
wrestling.
interview yourself then.
We both be watching Raw.
I'll be the only one.
Be like, so any of you guys can answer it? You know, it's funny that you say that because when I'm at home on Monday, my kids already know. My wife already knows.
Yeah.
It's Mondays and Fridays, don't mess with me.
Yeah.
Tuesday I'm not used to yet because I'm not completely used to NXT being on Tuesday. But every Monday, I'll leave here right at 5. I'll get home. I'll wait a couple minutes. I'm like, my wife's off on Mondays. That's why she's off Mondays. She gets Mondays off and she gets pay-per-view Sundays off. And then Fridays off. Because Monday's Raw, SmackDown's Friday, pay-per-view's on Sunday.
Okay.
Or she works early so she can be home before the pay-per-view.
Okay.
So what I do is I get home, I go say hi to all the kids, and then I'll go see what the wife's doing and she's cooking. I'm like, so, you need help? No? All right, well, I'm going to go watch Raw.
Yeah, I ain't going to ask you twice.
Damn right. She's like, go ahead. And then the kids already know. As soon as I walk in, they're like, oh yeah, Monday Night Raw. And I'm like, you're damn right. And I go, don't bug me while it's on. And so they won't bother me Monday, Fridays, and Sunday pay-per-views. They're like, well, that's the only time they volunteer to watch their baby sister too. They're like, because if I don't watch it, they know I'm gonna be grumpy the rest of the day.
So you don't like try to have, because your youngest is a girl, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't try to like have your daughter watch it too, because he constantly try to, I'm gonna have your son in this, I'm gonna have my dad. I'm like, no.
I tried with all of them. They all know. Well, the baby's only 2, so but she likes. It's funny because I think she likes Daniel Bryan, and because I have a portrait of Daniel Bryan behind my bed.
Wait a minute.
So that's how we ended up with kid number 4. Doing the whole yes chant. So I have my Daniel. So I think when the baby was when they barely start picking up their head, she would look at the wall, and there's Daniel Bryan. And it's so funny because she was born in September, so January was the Royal Rumble in Phoenix. So I think at that time she's October, November, December, 4 months old. Okay. And Daniel Bryan's on TV, and I have her there, and she sees him, and she's just looking at him like. And I go, I think she recognizes him from the portrait. So I met Daniel Bryan at Royal Rumble, and I told him that story. She said, poor baby. But now I think she likes Charlotte, because when she hears the song, and Bray Wyatt, because when she hears that little cartoon song, she stops and she looks. Oh. So I'm like, all right, good. So far we're starting somewhere. With the other three boys, they all watch it. It's so funny because they fight to see who's going to go to the event. So I have a 22-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 13-year-old, and then the 2-year-old. The 22, the 16, and the 13 are always fighting to see who's going to go to the event.
Why?
Because that's like, I'm only going to take one of you. Oh, but I want to go. And I'm like, you don't even watch the damn show. And they're like, oh, but I do. So I go. And then when they go, they're just sitting there like, the older one knows what's going on. If I were to say, they all three are fans in their own way. So the older one is like a big Divas fan. He loves the Divas. That was his thing. The 16-year-old, he loves Edge, is his favorite, and then Bobby Lashley. He loves Bobby Lashley. And Apollo Crews. All right. And then and Naomi and Alexa Bliss. And then the youngest one, he doesn't really have a favorite. Oh, I lie. He likes Riddle.
Oh, Riddle, yeah.
He likes Riddle. So they have their favorites, but when they go to the events, they're the worst.
So how do you pick? Like, you only got one ticket, you got 3 kids. How do you pick?
I take them each different show.
Oh, okay.
So if Raw is like, so sometimes, I don't know if he's told you, but sometimes they'll do like Raw at Staples Center.
Yeah.
And then,
He did that in Vegas.
Yeah.
He went to Staples Center in Vegas, I think.
So I think one year they did Raw and Staples, then they did Ontario, then they did Anaheim, and they did San Diego. So I think what we did was, I went to Raw with one, SmackDown with the other one, then I did the Raw the following week with the other one. And then my wife was like, all right, we can all go. And we all went to like the one in San Diego.
Oh, that's cool.
But it's funny because the older one will actually kind of sit there and clap. Mm-hmm. The 16-year-old, who's named after a wrestler, I don't know if you know. Yeah, he's named.
Really?
Yeah, the 16. So my oldest is named after a baseball player. So he's named Justice after David Justice. We just flipped it.
Yeah.
The 16-year-old is named Jericho.
Oh.
Yeah. The reason he was named Jericho is because we were driving home and my wife's like, you need to come up with a name for him with a J. And we're like, we were just spitting out names. And my older son, Justice, was in the back of the car. And he's like, and we had just watched Monday Night Raw. So it's a Tuesday. And he's like, why don't you name him Chris Jericho? And we're like, no, it has to be a J. And my wife's like, well, we'll just drop Chris. And we'll just name him Jericho. So his name is Jericho.
And you got happy, huh? You was like,
oh yeah, I was like, yes. And I thought he was gonna like Chris. His favorite was gonna be Chris Jericho.
Backfire.
His favorite is Edge, but he hates the Undertaker.
Where he at?
He hates Undertaker because SummerSlam when Taker choke slammed Edge off the ladder into the pit of fire. That was it. He hasn't forgiven him since. So, but that's how I pick. I usually will be like. So I think the last event we went to before the pandemic was a Monday Night Raw, and my oldest went with me. So by the list, the 16-year-old would be next if we only get one ticket. And the only reason we get 1 or 2 tickets is because either they have school. If they have school, then the older one goes.
Okay.
But or I'll just have them ditch. But most of the time now I've gotten friends, so sometimes they'll hook me up with tickets and they'll be like, how many you need? And I'll be like 3, and they'll be like, all right, go for it.
That's cool.
So that's a good thing.
How do you feel about the WWE Network switching over to Peacock now?
I hate it because I can't pause the pay-per-view.
You don't have Apple TV?
No.
Oh.
I about buy the Apple TV?
The Apple TV pauses it. Everyone is it.
Really?
Yeah.
He about to go buy him out.
Damn right.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Stop the interview up.
Let me go on Amazon.
Yeah, pause it and everything.
Not Amazon.
Yeah, they said that.
Or PlayStation doesn't do it either.
Yeah, only Apple right now does it. I mean, it's gonna start rolling out to
Just
everybody
wait,
else.
don't spend no extra money.
Oh, it's because, man, Sunday I was trying to watch the pay-per-view and my daughter was being a pain in the butt. And I was like, look, homegirl, you better sit here.
Like, hey, why she didn't cry during the zombie match?
Right? I was like, and then her mom was running late. I'm like, could you have come during the zombies match? You had to come during, I think she came during the women's, I think Bianca was, I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever was after the zombies match. And it was like a good match. And like, of course you would. Now, instead of zombies.
I remember maybe like 2 years ago on Twitter, I'm not gonna say a bully. I like to bother people on Twitter. That's what I'm gonna say.
Okay.
Who was I talking about? I was talking about a female wrestler, and remember all her fans was like,
oh,
I don't know who she was.
Oh man, you should have asked me before.
I know, but they was
they was on your head.
me. Like, I didn't know, because once again, I didn't think that it was that serious.
Yeah.
I thought he was the only person alive that liked wrestling, and I think I used the F word.
no.
I wasn't talking. I just like that fake ass shit. Like, I don't know who she was, but I said that fake ass shit, and all her fans was like, "Bitch, what the fuck?" Bitch. I think it was 100 bitches that day. And then I hit him like, "Oh my god, I don't know what to do." I didn't think like this was serious. Like, I thought one person would say something, but no, 100 people. And I was like, I'll never talk about wrestling like that.
The fan bases are unforgiving.
Yeah.
They are unforgiving.
Most definitely. I was like, yeah, no, I'm not going to ever say that again.
They're passionate.
Who would you put in the Hall of Fame that's not in the Hall of Fame already?
Well, China individually, I would have to, but Victoria. I think Victoria really deserves to go in. I think I'm sure there's a lot of people that aren't in that should be in, but Victoria to me stands out because she was not just because she's a good friend of the store, and I consider her like family, but also because she did so many things that a lot of the was one of the first ones to do. So you never had women in the steel cage, and she was in the first women's steel cage match. And, women's hardcore match. I think she was like the first or second woman in the hardcore match ever. She was also she's the first one to ever shave another woman's head. Hair versus hair match at WrestleMania.
Oh. Do you feel that she gets the credit that she deserves?
No, I think like WWE kind of forgets to. It was cool to see her at the Royal Rumble this year. Mm-hmm. The bad part was there was no fans, and I would have loved to have seen the reaction from the fans because she hadn't been there in so long. But I do think she deserves way more credit for what she's done. I think they kind of are now. Like, they did mention her in the top 50 women of all time. And I was shocked that she was, like, up so high. I don't know how you would say it, but she was in the top, 13, 15?
That's good.
So that was surprising.
50,
that was surprising to me because I didn't even think she would be. If anything, if they mentioned her on the list, I thought she'd be number 50. Just because that's the way I thought WWE would recognize her. But I think she should be in the Hall of Fame, and I think she deserves way more credit than what she's been given so far.
Now, the ECW legend New Jack just passed away. Was you a New Jack fan?
I became more of a fan when I saw the Dark Side of the Ring. Mm-hmm. I knew who he was. You only know. I didn't get to see ECW as much because it was on late at night, I think. And at that time, I was already a little older, and I was working, and I was being daddy to my oldest, so I didn't get to see him too much. But from what I would see, I wasn't like his number one fan, but I could see why so many people liked him. I did like that he kept it real, which you don't get.
Stuff,
So I became more of a fan, and I gained a little more respect for him after watching the Dark Side of the Ring because you get to see all the stuff they go through. And I think as fans, we just see wrestlers sometimes for what we see outside, and we don't really get to know what they're really like. And I think he's another guy. He didn't get as much credit as he did, especially for. Jeez, he took some mean moves, man.
Yeah, he was one of the, besides Mick Foley, I think and Terry Funk. He's like one of the top 3, top 5, like just taking crazy bumps and everything.
Yeah. So
and he gave it to people. Cut people open. He was crazy.
But you knew not to mess with him. But I heard he was a really nice guy outside. I think you just had to get to know him, and so.
What's your top 5 wrestling podcasts that you listen to?
Oof. I'm gonna be honest. I don't really listen to too many.
Oh, really?
Reason being is, I know fans are gonna hate me for this, and you're probably gonna sock me for this. I think being around wrestling and owning the store, I got to the point where I'm kind of like, okay, I watch Raw, I watch SmackDown, I watch NXT, I watch pay-per-views. I go to some local shows. I have to interview wrestlers.
It's a lot.
So sometimes you're like, oh, that's a lot. Yeah. But when I do listen, I like listening to Cornette. I probably would say Corey Graves is the one I listen to the most. After the bell. I like Corey Graves. I think his is really smooth.
Yeah.
And so I like him. I like, I used to listen to Busted Open.
I just started listening to that.
Well, what's his name? LaGreca? He's just too annoying.
Only why I just started listening to that because I listened to what is Peter Rosenberg? GP?
Yeah.
And he was playing a clip, and he was the guy that what was his name?
LaGreca.
He was going crazy about the zombie match. Oh, I gotta listen to this podcast. So I just started actually today. When I was on my way to her house, I was listening to it. He's just,
I think it's all gimmick. I think that's just his gimmick is to be the complete anti-WWE. He's kind of reacting like, I guess, the way the internet community reacts. But, yeah. JR was pretty good. I like Cornette. I like Graves. I like, I used to listen. I like,
Something to Wrestle With. You listen to that?
That's with,
that's Bruce Pritchard.
Bruce Pritchard sometimes. Bischoff's I'll listen to.
I can't stand Bischoff.
Sometimes I don't like it because it complicates the truth a little bit. Chavo, I like listening to Chavo. I don't know if you heard that.
I heard that one, but I'm going to check it out.
And God TV with Victoria. I'll listen to God TV.
Okay.
I mean, I'm probably one of the few guys that listen to it. But.
What's the most expensive memorabilia that you ever purchased?
Ooh. That's a good one.
I just can imagine your house like.
Oh no, there's not much.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing. You know what? It's funny. I'm not much of a collector.
Oh,
I'm not. I don't know what to do with the stuff. I get stuff and I don't know what to do with it. I'm like, what do I do with all this now? Like I'll buy it and I'll be like, okay, now what?
That's me too. Like what's it do?
Yeah, or you know how you regret it like 2 days later and you're like, why did I buy this?
Yeah, that's me. But I know you purchased something that was just
crazy. Well, probably my favorite collectible was my Daniel Bryan championship.
That bullshit, that little, it's ugly.
But it was.
It's ugly.
But the price of it was worth $430.
Oh my god!
$430 for what?
Yeah, the belts championship.
No, for what? for some. I want because wrestlers y'all fans gonna be
championship belt.
It's a championship belt.
I remember when I went to.
It was worth it.
I went to live, WWE Live, and I'm like, I gotta get a belt. I don't care how much it costs. And I went, when we first got in, I should have got it after we left. But when I first walked in, I said, I want the belt. He said, $400-something. Fuck it, I just paid for it. But then I had to sit there with the belt the whole time, and everybody was like, oh, you got a belt? Oh, you got a belt? Yeah, and I'm like, damn, I should have bought it afterwards.
And then everybody wants to touch it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like me. Y'all see me once. Y'all want to touch it? I don't know, maybe I shouldn't say it.
Yeah. What's the most expensive memorabilia someone purchased here?
Probably the championships too, because they're about $400, $430. Well, somebody did pay for our original China board here, our original drawing that we have. They paid like $350 for it.
That was worth it because you can get that's.
So I would say that, or if I were to say memorabilia, would definitely be the China board for $350.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then if I were to say like regular WWE item, the championship belts for $430, probably the most expensive we've ever sold.
Do you have to order those, or
We order them through WWE.
Okay.
So most of the stuff we get through WWE. That's why we're real careful on what we do because they know we exist.
They probably got people looking.
Oh, they do. But man, I found out the hard way when we had a meet and greet with Alberto Del Rio.
Oh, God.
And he had just been released, and I guess it wasn't on good terms. And my friend made the graphic for the meet and greet to announce it. Mm-hmm. And he used the picture, and WWE said, take that shit off.
Dang.
That's
they
ours.
like the mob.
Yeah. They were like, take it off, it's ours, it's our intellectual property, don't use it. And I was like, holy. And he knew, because I even messaged him like, hey, can you send me a picture? He's like, let me get WWE. Yep. He's like, yeah, they don't like me right now.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you could have told me that.
So July 24th, I'm gonna be here because my birthday is July 25th.
Okay.
Are you really gonna have a dance off against No Way Jose?
Yep.
I have to be there for that.
I think I can win.
I have to be. I see your moves.
Thank you.
Is there any bets? I'm going for you.
Thank you.
I'm
Thank
putting
you.
my money up. Anybody want to bet me? I'm
Right now, I'm gonna win that. I mean, sure, he can move the hips. His hips don't lie. I'll make up for it. Your birthday's July 25th.
July
huh?
25th. I gotta be here for that.
My grandfather and my dad's birthday's July 24th, and then Jericho's July 29th.
Oh,
Yeah, they're all July
Wow.
babies. I'm surprised he hasn't popped his head out yet. Really cool.
Where do you see your store in 5 years and why?
So the four or 5 step plan was swap meet,
Okay.
storefront, mall. Then the 4th plan would be I always wanted to be in the City Walk, Universal City Walk. Or like
I think
downtown
that would
Disney.
be
Yeah.
great. I think that's where you'll make your most revenue, like tourists.
Yeah.
I think that would be.
That's what I want. And then ultimately, I know it's never going to happen, but I always say ultimately I would like Vince McMahon to buy me out, and I can retire in peace.
Right.
But in 5 years, I would say we would either be inside a shopping center or inside a mall, or at the City Walk.
Okay.
I think once I've hit, I like to set up goals for myself, and if I can hit them, then I feel like, all right, I've done everything. It's kind of sad because if I hit it in like 5 years, and I'm very competitive, so I feel like once I hit, I'm like where do
now
I go?
what?
Yeah.
You remind me of me so much because when you talk, I could tell like now what?
Yeah.
I'm already reached my peak. Now what?
Yeah.
What
yeah.
else?
That's
yeah,
how
I understand.
That's how I feel, and even when I used to coach baseball, that's why I would go to a school and I would be there 3-4 years, and I said I would coach and I would say, okay, my first year we're gonna lose. Year 2 we're gonna break 500. Year 3 I'm gonna get to the playoff. If I'm there 4 years, we're gonna win. But then once we hit 4 years, I'm like, I don't want to start all over here. I go, let me go somewhere else now and do it again.
You already made them.
Yeah. I like
now
the challenge.
what? Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how I am with podcasts and all that. So like when you send me this. Guess what? I'm gonna say like, all right, who's gotten the most views? All right, cool. Let me try to beat that. And I may not, but I'm like,
I like that though.
That's just because if you don't, I don't know. I feel like I'm just like, oh, all right, cool.
Do you think AEW will ever surpass WWE?
I don't think they'll surpass them, but I think they'll be at their level. I think sooner or later they'll get to the numbers, but I don't think they'll surpass them because I don't think wrestling's in that period anymore. But it just depends. I don't think we have that attitude era anymore because now you have so many ways of viewing wrestling. With YouTube, you can watch clips and you can, watch it on streaming, and so I think they'll be up there. But I don't think they'll surpass them anytime because I think Vince is smarter now, and I think Triple H will.
I don't think AEW is coming close.
Yeah.
I don't think they're coming close to NXT.
I don't think they'll. Yeah. But I mean, like they'll be up to their level. Meaning, like I think they'll be the name recognition will be there, but it'll be like WCW where you recognize the name.
I don't think.
But I don't think it'll be. Well,
AEW fans
have to be nice.
No, you ain't got to be nice. Tell the truth. They suck.
His is at Lavonte. Already experienced.
She already experienced. She don't need no more.
No more,
They
please.
suck.
I think they'll be okay. How about that?
They're just throwing money around and
Yeah.
trying to see if it's going to stick or something. Like they're doing the Eric Bischoff thing.
Yeah.
But without Eric Bischoff brain.
Yeah. I think if they get smarter and they actually get storylines and slow down the in-ring product, I think they can make a good run. But I think right now, like you said, they're throwing too much money out there. And then I think they're reliving too much of the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
They're recreating it instead of... It's so funny because I just had this conversation with somebody. We always complain that Hollywood and even in the music industry, no one's original anymore. Everybody's always ripping somebody off, or they're recreating a movie or remaking a movie. But yet, in wrestling, AEW is recreating all this Attitude Era stuff, and the fans are going, "Oh, this is great!"
Yeah, like they never seen it before.
Yeah, but I'm like, we just saw this, but yet WWE is trying newer stuff. It might be horrible, but they're trying, and we criticize them for it. So I'm like, it's weird. Wrestling fans are, us wrestling fans are weird.
Do you feel wrestling will exist 5 years from now?
Yeah, I think it'll be here for a long time. I hope I didn't jinx it. But I think it'll be here for a while. I think ultimately, it'll outlive me. I think it'll outlive all of us.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know if it'll be the peak, the popularity from the Attitude Era will ever be hit again.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's now considered part of pop culture, and I think it's something that will just remain.
Yeah, speaking of pop culture, I don't know if you've seen that, like, Ric Flair was in, like, a lot of hip-hop.
Yeah.
Like, how did you feel, or any other wrestling fans, how did you feel when you seen that?
I think it's good because as wrestling fans, I think, kind of like we said, I think we're kind of seeing, like, wrestling's been accepted as, and I think people are realizing that Ric Flair or Stone Cold or The Rock are bigger names than they've been given credit for.
Mm.
Even though the Attitude Era was big, I still think, like, it still doesn't get the credit as a pop culture phenomenon that it is. Like, I think everybody's okay, The Simpsons is cool, but wrestling's not. Or South Park is cool, but wrestling's not. And it's like, well, wrestling should be
right up there.
Right up there. Like, it's been running for, Raw's been on, over 30 years already?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
It came out in 93,
93, 94. I haven't missed a Raw unless the power goes out at home. So I even watched it in New Orleans.
Really?
Yep, my family went on a trip to New Orleans when I was a kid. It was a Monday night. They wanted to go tour. I said, wait till Monday Night Raw's over.
How did your mom feel about that once you was, like, hooked on wrestling?
Oh, man. She used it against me. She would ground me.
Sunday and Monday, you're going to go outside and play. You're not watching.
She would be like, oh, you're going to watch Raw? You want to watch? Back then, it was primetime wrestling. So she'd be like, you want to watch primetime, huh? I go, yeah, can I stay up till like 10 or 11? Did you do your homework? Yeah. You didn't behave today, so no, you can't watch it. No! But she was pretty good about it. I would always have to hear from her boyfriend, now husband, the F word all the time.
Oh, okay.
And he would say, like, he wouldn't say it flat out, but he would say, like, well, you can clearly see them talking to each other. You can clearly see it. And I'm like, oh, man, let me watch my show.
Yeah, stop killing it.
Yeah, like, I don't ruin your movies.
Yeah.
But she was good with it until me and my little brother started wrestling, and then would go crazy and almost
mess the house,
yeah.
beat each other up.
We broke her bed like 10 times.
Oh, damn.
Because that would be our wrestling ring.
Now, with a straight face, can you please tell the camera, can you please lie to the camera and tell them three good things that Daniel Bryan's better than Shawn Michaels?
Oh. Oh, he took the mask off, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, go.
Lie to the camera. No. I'm ready.
I think he's better in ring.
Oh my God.
I think he can have better matches than Shawn Michaels have had. I think he's better on the mic as far as promo goes.
Did you watch the Attitude Era, Shawn Michaels? When him and Bret Hart was going back and forth?
But see, but I think that, did you watch the New Generation Shawn Michaels? He was not very good compared to, and if you compare,
we're talking about both of them in their prime.
Oh,
you're
right.
trying to compare Daniel Bryan to his prime to bald-headed Shawn Michaels. You can't do that.
And Daniel can do both face and heel. Sean couldn't be a face when he was in prime.
When Shawn was going against Vince, when they
he was horrible. He was horrible.
Oh my God.
So Daniel Bryan's a better face / heel. He's better in ring, and he's better at on the mic.
That's how serious.
Congratulations! You said what I said. You lied to the camera.
That's the only time I take it off. So don't start tweeting and Instagram messaging me saying you took off the mask. All right, I had to defend my man. I tell everybody that's my man crush. True story.
That's your man.
Wait. Before we leave, what Daniel Bryan match is better than the Shawn Michaels Bret Hart Iron Man match?
Oh.
Name 2. Besides what? I think that and when he won the WWE Championship.
Bryan.
But other than that,
Bryan versus Brock Lesnar.
Oh my God! Anything versus Brock Lesnar is trash. That's the first thing that came to your mind, sir?
Any Bryan versus Cena match?
Not any.
Most of them
up there.
SummerSlam.
Okay, that's up
All
there.
right. Brian versus Roman, Fastlane.
No.
And then the actual the last one they just had. Actually, the last two
the
they
triple,
had.
the triple, no,
not the triple threat. The one they had on SmackDown was very good.
Okay, yeah. Okay, that one was good.
Thank you very much.
That one was good.
And I'll tell you something else Daniel Bryan did that no other wrestler has been able to do since. He actually had a great match with The Fiend.
I'll give you that.
Because Seth Rollins couldn't do it.
I'll give you that.
Seth Rollins couldn't do it. Braun sure as hell couldn't do it.
I'll give you that.
Thank you very much. And Randy, even though Randy's really good in the ring, they didn't click.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
And I will say this for Shawn, because I know I give him a hard time. But no, Shawn Michaels, I didn't appreciate Shawn Michaels, honestly, until he came back. And now when you go back to it and you watch it, I joke around a lot, but Shawn is a very good in-ring performer. I mean, probably one of the best of all time. Mm-hmm. And you don't appreciate it until when you're a kid, because the same thing, you're so brainwashed by the size of the wrestlers and the gimmicks that you didn't appreciate Shawn as much. And I think we learned to appreciate him more when he was older. Mm-hmm. And especially for me, when he did that match with Undertaker, it gives me the chills even thinking about it. That showed me like Shawn can go. And I think that's why I appreciate Bryan more now, because I think watching Shawn, maybe I wasn't like the biggest fan of his, but I think watching him and his style and how he could go with anybody, you pretty much put him in the ring. That's like Bret. I think Bret doesn't get enough credit.
Yeah, Bret doesn't.
And I wish that rivalry would have gone longer.
It was too personal.
Yeah, that's why I wish they would have been able to put it aside and actually kept going, because I honestly think that feud is money.
Yeah, it was.
It was more money than. I think it could have been like Rock Austin level if they both didn't have these egos they had, or personal feelings towards each other. But I think that's why I think now we appreciate more like Bryan and Cesaro. I think so. I could say that. I think Shawn Michaels opened the door for us to appreciate more the athleticism in the ring. That now I think he's on the pedestal. He set wrestling on his pedestal. So now when we see guys that can't wrestle, that's why we're like, okay,
you suck. Yeah.
You suck. Because it is, and that's why I think like Bryan and Cesaro, just watching Cesaro at WrestleMania Backlash, I'm like, holy shit, he got thrown in to wrestle.
Yeah, really.
And you don't see that. And Shawn was the only one that could get somebody that big, that when they were like this, to wrestle.
Yep.
And so I give Shawn that. How about that?
Okay, thank you.
Just to shut you up. How about that?
No. Okay, so I know my sister got to go, so
I got one quick story for you
about
Daniel Bryan. Okay, so we're a very open store. We're open to the LGBTQ community.
Shout out to the LGBTQIA community. That's my community.
Yes, my older son is non-binary.
Okay.
And so I make sure that everybody, it's an inclusive store. I guess that's how you would say it, right?
Yeah.
And so this couple came in. Hopefully no one gets offended by the story. But this gay couple came in, two men, and they always, because I'm very friendly and I'm flirty and I joke a lot with everybody. I don't care if, gay, straight, I flirt with you.
Yeah.
And they're like, so when they found out I had a kid, they're like, you have a kid? I'm like, yeah, I have a kid. And I go, my older son is gay. And I'm like, oh, you're not gay? And I'm like, no. They go, really? And I go, no, I'm serious. And they're like, prove it. And I go, well, how do you want me to prove it? They go, how do you want me to prove it? They're like, who's your favorite wrestler? And I go, Daniel Bryan. They're like, oh, you're definitely straight.
So, like, what if you said a different wrestler, like?
Because at that time, Finn Balor.
Oh yeah.
He's the favorite. He wears the little tight, and he poses on the ring, and he's got the whole. And Daniel Bryan at that time, I think he had the long scruffy hair. He wasn't as clean. If you see him now, he's a much better now. So that guy messages me because they broke up, whatever, and he messaged me one day during WrestleMania, and he goes, I'm starting to question you again. I'm like, why now? He goes, well, Daniel Bryan looks good now.
You should have said the old one. The old one.
I was like, it don't matter because he's my man crush.
Yeah, that's your man crush.
So I said, he's my man crush. I go, I don't care. I'm gonna accidentally lock the door.
I got one more question.
Me too. Once he's done, I got one more.
Okay. what match got you like the most emotional of all time?
Oof. The one that got me the most heated was Austin Rock 17.
Well, emotion, like you felt the match, like everything.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I got angry because Austin turned on him, and I hated.
Oh yeah.
But feeling wise, like just like depressing, kind of like this, I would say again Austin Rock 19 because I knew I kind of felt that was Austin's last match.
Yeah.
But the one that always gives me goosebumps is Shawn and Taker. That whole entrance.
Yeah.
That gives me
Mine
chills.
is, I like the emotion. It has to be the first. I think it was. I don't know if it was the first match. Becky and Sasha NXT.
Oh yeah.
When they got the flowers at the end.
Yeah.
I was like, dang.
Yeah.
Like you felt that match.
Yeah.
That was like the first time I was ever like really like I'd be glued, but it was just like I was super glued to that match. And then at the end, how he like presented them with the flowers and everything. So I think that's when Sasha got called. Right? Yeah. That's one of my. I can go back and watch that match all day.
Yeah. Mine is Austin Rock 17. I think because the build-up was just so good, and all the false finishes and just everything was just perfect. And Rock wasn't overselling the stunner at the time.
Yeah.
And it was just, I was like, I could watch it 100 times and I get bored of it.
That and Shawn Michaels retiring Ric Flair.
Yeah.
That was
the emotion in that. That's what we gotta get your sister to watch.
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything because I don't want y'all coming for me.
I'm making her a Daniel Bryan fan. Watch it.
Damn.
I'm the Undertaker. That's the only person I know.
I'm gonna get her a Daniel Bryan shirt.
You see, I gave you a gift. I'm like, why the hell is this in my collection? I'm gonna get this shit. When did I buy this shit?
And he told me that in the car. He was like, I'm gonna give this to him, and because I'm not a wrestling fan,
Okay.
I don't want to use the F word, but once off camera, you was like excited, like, oh my god, thank you. I'm like, whoa, this shit is really serious.
That's my man.
That's your man. One more question. This is my last question. If you was to hire somebody, do they have to be knowledgeable when it comes to wrestling, or are you just hiring?
If my main thing is, if you can provide the customer service and you're willing to learn about the wrestlers, then we will hire you. I've been my main thing is I want to get the person. We do a lot of youngsters because I feel like because I used to coach baseball, so I missed that coaching. So I like coaching. So I think that's what the challenge is for me. Like if you came in and you're like, hey, I don't know wrestling, but I'm really good. And I'll watch you, and I'm like, all right, I can coach you to good customer service, and at the same time maybe teach you what you need to make it through. Here.
Are you hiring right now, or?
I wish.
Oh.
I got this 16-year-old that I'm teaching right now.
Oh, okay.
But
soon, maybe. Once the 16-year-old dumps me, I'm gonna be like, you know what, Dad, I'm done with you.
June 15th, he will. That's
he's opening. Yeah, he probably will.
June 15th.
He's like, I'm out of here.
He's probably in heaven right now because he's by himself in the back. So he might stay here voluntarily. He might never go home. But it don't matter here as long as you know your stuff and everything, and and then any Daniel Bryan fan, gay or straight, give me a call. Don't tell the wife though, because you can go on all these dates.
Look, I wanted to send this before I go out.
Oh my God, he's serious about these.
Come to the Wrestling Guy store and get you some Shawn Michaels shoes right here. Right here it says size 9. I'm pretty sure he got all sizes. Make sure you get you some Shawn Michaels shoes. He a hater. He don't have the socks to match. But I'm pretty sure you might can order them online or something. But yeah, check these out.
We don't have his socks because his socks are pretty cool, so they always sell.
And I don't see no Daniel Bryan shoes. So.
You know what? Just wait. We're gonna add more Daniel Bryan. You know what? We said we were inclusive, but you're gone now.
You're out of here.
It's inclusive to everybody except Shawn Michaels.
Well, thank you for allowing us to interview you, man.
Oh no, thank you. It was a lot of fun.
It was very fun. I learned a lot because I didn't know this is real. Yeah. Wrestling fans are very real. Yeah. And wrestling is real too.
I'll tell you what the shirt, the quote, it says, wrestling is real, people are fake.
Thank you. I'll start saying that. That's gonna be in my bio.
Yeah, and every time I hit him and say the F word, he's gonna quote me that.